am on the HOA board, and I demand you stop this construction immediately. This path is private property, and you are trespassing.
The day I found the steel gate welded across our lake path, the air was so cold it burned my lungs. The HOA had motion lights blasting white on the frozen grass. I could smell fresh-cut metal and asphalt tar. Our quiet little trail, the one I walked every morning with my coffee, now had a rusty monster across it, sticking out of the ground like a prison fence. A big red sign screamed private property residence only under a flickering light. And there she was, Karen from the HOA board, in her fleece vest and clipboard, telling an old man with a cane to turn around or get trespassed. I asked what this was, and she smirked like she had practiced in a mirror. The board voted, she said. We are tired of outsiders using our amenities. The thing is, that path is not an amenity. It runs along a public easement the city recorded decades ago. In my head, the title of this whole mess wrote itself. HOA built a 1974-style gate across the lake path. Too bad I am the engineer. I told her the gate looked illegal. She told me if I touched it, I would get a $100 fine and maybe a police visit. Several neighbors glanced over, then quickly looked away. I tried to do it the nice way first. I emailed the HOA board at 9:00 p.m. that night, laying out how the path showed on county maps. No reply. I went to the next HOA meeting on May 3rd, 2024. They held it in the clubhouse that smelled like burned coffee and cheap carpet cleaner. I brought printed diagrams. Karen cut me off mid-sentence. The board has spoken, she said. A guy on the board actually said, if you wanted a lake path, you should have bought in a better neighborhood. A few neighbors caught my eye but stared at the floor. One later whispered in the parking lot that they wanted to speak up but feared fines. The board already handed out 9 violation letters this year over trash, Kinsdot on the walk home. My hands were shaking, and not from the cold. That gate meant my dad, who lives 2 streets over and uses a walker, now had to go 3 extra blocks along a busy road just to see the lake. That was my line in the sand. But I promised myself this. No cutting padlocks, no sneaking. Only rules. Lucky for me, I live in rules. I am a civil engineer. Easements and access are my daily bread. I pulled up the county GIS site, then the HOA bylaws, then the city building code. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. On the front page I wrote, Timeline Item 1, April 5th at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. That was when Karen called the police on my quiet next-door neighbor for walking his dog on the path. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. The more I dug, the worse it got for them. The public records request came back faster than I expected, and the file landed with 63 pages. I spread them across my dining table beside a half-cold cup of coffee. No permit for the gate. No engineer of record attached. 0 mention in city files about blocking a designated pedestrian access. But there it was in our HOA financials. A line item showing $4,200 paid to Karen's brother's welding company. I cross-checked the plats and saw a clear shaded strip labeled Public Pedestrian Easement to Lake. I highlighted it in yellow. Then I filed not 1, but 3 formal complaints. To the city code enforcement, to the fire marshal about blocked emergency access, and to the state HOA oversight office about self-dealing and misuse of funds. When the trap finally sprung, it happened on a bright Saturday morning that smelled like wet leaves and sunscreen. I was walking back from the mailbox when a white city truck rolled up to the gate, followed by a fire department SUV and a police cruiser. Neighbors stepped out onto porches, phones already in their hands. Karen stormed over in her slippers, yelling that this was private property. The inspector spoke calm and firm. This structure sits entirely on city easement and blocks designated public access, he said. He flipped open his clipboard, where copies of my diagrams were clipped behind my binder covers. The fire marshal pointed to the narrow strip beside the gate. An ambulance cannot pass here, he said. You were warned when you did not apply for a permit. A cop quietly added that filing false trespass calls over legal public use is a serious issue. The inspector read out the consequences like a verdict. Immediate removal order. Daily fines of $200 starting Monday. A personal ethics review for the board over the payment to Karen's brother. Someone across the street gasped loud enough to hear. A teen I had never met whispered, "Oh, this is going straight to TikTok." Laughter bubbled up when the crew from the city started unbolting the gate while Karen begged them to wait for a lawyer. The cop shrugged and said, "Ma'am, the time to call a lawyer was before you welded a fence on city land." My neighbor with the cane stood near the sidewalk, filming with shaky hands, grinning like a kid. Over the next week, the gate vanished, post by post. The HOA sent a stiff email about unfortunate misunderstandings and unexpected city interpretations, but the truth was already public. The city letter made it clear. The board had broken the rules, and the HOA had to refund the $4,200 and pay a civil penalty of $5,000. Karen lost her position as president in a vote that same month. She kept her house, but had to sign an agreement about no more direct contact with city departments without full board approval. The police quietly closed her old trespass complaints as unfounded and warned her about future calls. Peace slipped back into our street like a warm breeze. Now, when I walk the lake path at sunrise with my coffee, there is no ugly steel gate. Just a low wooden rail and a new city sign that reads "Public Access Welcome from Dawn to Dusk." Kids ride scooters. My dad can get to the bench by the water without risking that busy road. One evening, the shy neighbor who once whispered in the parking lot thanked me and handed me a plate of cookies. I told him I just did what any engineer with a stubborn streak and a love for a simple path would do. And as for Karen, well, she walks the long way around now. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.